It was 11:42 p.m. on a Tuesday night. I was lying on my couch in the dark, fully dressed, phone in hand, scrolling through social media like my thumb had a mind of its own. My laptop was still open on the coffee table, emails unread, tabs piling up, and tomorrow's to-do list staring at me like a mountain I didn't even want to climb. I remember that feeling so clearly, not just tired, but tired of being tired. Not the physical kind of exhaustion, but the mental weight of never catching up. My days felt like one long loop. Wake up late, rush through everything, feel guilty about wasting time, then stay up late to make up for it. But the truth is, I wasn't making up for anything. I was burning out. Quietly. At work, I was slipping. Missed a deadline that week. Forgot a meeting. My boss didn't say anything directly, but I could tell she was noticing. And honestly, I was too drained to even care. And in my personal life, I had stopped showing up. My friends would text, and I'd leave them on read. My mom called twice that week. I let both go to voicemail. I'd tell myself I was just busy, but deep down, I knew I wasn't living. I was surviving. I used to be ambitious, hungry, hopeful. But in that season of life, I was just trying to get through the day, one coffee at a time. One night, I don't even know why I Googled something like how to fix your life when you're overwhelmed. And there it was, in the middle of a long list of blog posts and videos, a book called The 5 a.m. Club. The title felt ridiculous at first, like who in their right mind wants to wake up earlier when you're already exhausted? Still, something about it stuck with me. Maybe it was the word club, like maybe there were people out there who figured it out. Maybe I could too. The next day, I ordered the book. No high hopes, just curiosity. But what started as a casual read turned into a mirror I couldn't look away from. The pages didn't judge me, but they did challenge me. And the more I read, the more I started to wonder, what if I gave myself just 1 hour each day, just one, to actually live with intention instead of reaction? That was the question that shifted everything. Now, before I get into what I learned from the book, and more importantly, what I did with it, I want to say this clearly. I wasn't a morning person. I wasn't a productivity nerd. I didn't have a perfect life waiting to be unlocked. I was just a regular person, going through a quiet crisis, hoping something would change before it was too late. And somehow, this book, and the choices I made after reading it, helped me get my life back. So in the next part, I want to walk you through the biggest lessons I pulled from the 5 a.m. Club, not as quotes, not as theory. I want to share how they actually showed up in my real life. How I took those ideas, applied them step by step, and slowly built a life I'm proud of waking up to. Because if it could work for someone like me honestly, it might just work for you too. I'll be honest with you, when I first read the idea that owning your morning elevates your life, I rolled my eyes. I thought, sure, maybe if I had no responsibilities, no job, no stress. But the more I read, the more I realized that I had it backwards. The truth is, I had been giving away my mornings before the day even started. See, I used to wake up at the very last minute. I'm talking 7:50 a.m., scrambling out of bed by 8, 5, brushing my teeth with one eye open, checking my phone before even saying a word out loud. I'd already be stressed before I left the house running on caffeine, not clarity. And the worst part? That chaos followed me through the rest of my day. I was always reacting, never leading. So when the 5 a.m. Club introduced this concept that the way you begin your day shapes the rest of it, something inside me clicked, not instantly, but deeply. I decided to give it a shot. Now, I didn't go from sleeping in to becoming a monk overnight. The first week, I just aimed to wake up 30 minutes earlier. I didn't plan to do anything fancy, just sit with my coffee in silence. That alone felt revolutionary. No emails, No noise, just quiet. But here's what happened. That first quiet morning, it felt awkward at first. I was fidgety. I kept reaching for my phone. But then, something shifted. I started noticing how peaceful the world was at 5:30 a.m., how the air smelled different, how the silence didn't feel empty, it felt available. By the second week, I was waking up at 5:15 a.m. I used that time to stretch a little, read a few pages of a book, and jot down some thoughts in a notebook. Nothing formal, just space to breathe. But what shocked me was what came next. I started showing up to work ready. I wasn't walking in as the frazzled version of myself anymore. I had already been with myself that morning. I had already centered. It's like my energy had a direction instead of just spinning in every direction. People noticed. My coworker, Mark, actually asked, "Did you change your coffee or something? You seem more clear." That made me laugh, but it also made me realize how much noise I had let control me before. And here's something I didn't expect: my anxiety started to shrink. I used to feel this tightness in my chest before meetings, or when my inbox flooded in the morning. But now, I'd already spent an hour with intention before anyone else needed anything from me. That gave me power. Not in a loud, ego-driven way, but in a quiet, steady confidence. One morning, about a month into this new habit, I walked into work early, coffee in hand, music in my earbuds, and this thought hit me like a wave. I'm no longer behind. I didn't even know how much I'd been chasing the day until I finally felt what it was like to lead it. Of course, there were days I slipped, days I hit snooze, days I stayed up too late and paid the price. But even then, I noticed the difference. I didn't beat myself up, but I missed the peace of that morning hour. That's when I knew it had become something more than a hack or a habit. It was becoming a way of living. Now, when people ask me, "What's the one thing that changed your life?" I don't say a new app or some secret productivity system. I say, I took back my mornings. And maybe that doesn't sound glamorous. Maybe it sounds too simple. But I've learned that simple things done consistently are often the most powerful. That one choice created a domino effect in every part of my life. My focus, my mental health, even my relationships. Because when you show up to life with intention, life tends to meet you where you are, with better energy, better people, and better outcomes. So if you're listening to this and thinking, "I'm not a morning person," let me say this with love. Neither was I. But maybe it's not about being a morning person. Maybe it's about becoming a you that finally feels in control again. Once I got used to waking up earlier, something interesting happened. I had the time, but I didn't always know what to do with it. Some mornings, I'd just sit there sipping coffee and staring at the wall, which, don't get me wrong, was better than jumping straight into emails, but it still felt like something was missing. Like I had opened a door, but hadn't walked through it yet. That's when I reread a section in the 5 a.m. Club about the 20-20-20 formula. If you're not familiar, it breaks your first hour into 3 20-minute blocks. 1. Move. 20 minutes of exercise. 2. Reflect. 20 minutes of journaling, meditation, or prayer. 3. Grow. 20 minutes of learning something new. I remember thinking, okay, this sounds like a lot before the sun's even up, but let's try it. And I did. The very next morning, 5:00 a.m., move. I dragged myself out of bed, slipped on my sneakers, and did a basic YouTube HIIT workout in my living room. Nothing fancy, just enough to sweat. Honestly, it was rough at first. I felt clumsy, tired, out of shape. But by 5:20, I was awake in a way caffeine never made me feel. My heart was pumping, my mind was alert, and for the first time in years, I felt alive before sunrise. 5:20 a.m. Reflect. I grabbed a notebook I hadn't touched in months, and just started writing, no filter, no rules. At first, it was a mess. I'm tired. This is dumb. My legs hurt. But then it got deeper. Thoughts started pouring out. Things I hadn't realized were weighing me down. Worries, hopes, questions. I started asking myself, what do I want today to feel like? That one question changed everything. After a week, this 20-minute journaling block became my emotional anchor. I could walk into the chaos of the day and still feel centered because I had already made space to process the noise before it even began. 5. 40M. Grow. Finally, I opened a book I'd been meaning to read for months. Just 20 minutes. No pressure to finish chapters. Just absorb. Learn. Feed my brain before anyone else's opinions entered it. Sometimes I'd read. Sometimes I'd listen to a podcast or watch a TED Talk. The content didn't matter as much as the consistency. That final 20 minutes made me feel like I was leveling up heaven in silence. By 6:00 a.m., I wasn't just awake, I was activated. Now, I won't lie and say I did this flawlessly from the start. There were days I skipped the workout, days I wrote 2 lines and gave up, days I opened Instagram during my grow time. Yeah, guilty. But I kept coming back. And after just 3 weeks of sticking with this formula about 5 days a week, I started to notice something wild. My energy was different. Not just in the morning, but throughout the day. I wasn't snapping at coworkers as much. I wasn't dragging my feet by 2 p.m. I was even sleeping better. No more doom scrolling at midnight. No more falling asleep with the TV on. One of the biggest shifts came when my manager pulled me aside after a meeting and said, "I don't know what you've been doing lately, but keep it up. You've been sharp and calm under pressure." That floored me. Because for years, I'd wanted to be that person focused, grounded, present, but I had no system to support it. The 20-20-20 formula gave me that structure. It was simple. It was flexible. But it was powerful. And it made me realize something important. How you start your day isn't just about productivity, it's about identity. Each part of the formula spoke to a piece of me I had neglected. Move reminded me I had a body worth taking care of. Reflect reminded me I had a mind worth listening to. Grow reminded me I had potential worth investing in. That hour became sacred. Not because I was chasing success or trying to be some Instagram version of that 5 a.m. person, but because I finally remembered that I mattered. Before the deadlines, before the meetings, before the noise, I mattered. So if you're listening and thinking, that's too much for me, I get it. Start with one part. Move for 10 minutes. Write a sentence. Read 1 page. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. This one surprised me. When I first heard the phrase, "isolation is the price of greatness" in the book, I almost skimmed past it. I thought, okay, cool quote, but I'm not trying to be a monk. I had always assumed that success meant networking harder, always being available, always responding fast, showing up everywhere. But what I didn't realize was I was constantly surrounded by noise. Notifications, Slack messages, group chats, news feeds. Even when I was alone, I wasn't really alone. I was always plugged in, constantly reacting. It felt like I had lost access to my own thoughts. And somewhere along the way, I had stopped asking myself, what do I want to create? What do I actually believe? That's when the book hit me with this truth. Solitude isn't about disappearing from the world. It's about reconnecting with your inner world. So I made a decision that felt small but turned out to be massive. Every morning right after my 20-20-20 routine, I'd give myself 1 hour of intentional isolation. No phone, no social media, no email. Just me, my thoughts, and one task that mattered. At first, I used that time to journal. Then, I started brainstorming ideas for a project I'd been putting off for almost a year, a side hustle I had always talked about but never touched. I wanted to build an online resource for freelancers, something simple at first, a blog, maybe a digital guide. But in the noise of everyday life, it always got pushed aside. Now, with this quiet hour, I had space. I had clarity. I had permission. The first time I blocked off that hour, I remember sitting in front of my laptop, candles lit, lo-fi music playing, and I felt weirdly nervous. Like, can I really do this? Can I sit in silence and focus on just one thing? Turns out I could. And it felt like my brain breathed for the first time in years. No tabs open, no multitasking, just deep, focused work. And guess what? That 1 hour done 5 days a week turned into a working draft of my first downloadable guide. A month later, I launched my little site. No big splash, no viral moment. Just something real, something mine. Looking back, it wasn't about the project itself. It was about what the project represented. Focus, discipline, progress. But more than anything, it was about finally carving out a space in my day that didn't belong to anyone else. Not my boss, not my clients, not the algorithm. Just me. And you know what else happened? I became a better listener to others and to myself. Before, I'd rush through conversations, half thinking about what I needed to do next. But after spending time in quiet every morning, my mind wasn't racing as much. I was more present. I could sit across from a friend, really hear them, and not feel the need to jump in or rush off. One afternoon, my sister actually said, "You've changed. I don't know what it is, but you feel calm." That moment meant everything to me, because for so long I was anything but calm. I was reactive, anxious, scattered. But solitude reintroduced me to stillness, and stillness reintroduced me to me. Now, I won't lie. The world doesn't reward stillness. Your phone will buzz. The news will scream. People will expect immediate replies. But here's the thing. If you don't protect your time, the world will take all of it. And mastery, whatever that means for you, only grows in quiet soil. Whether it's writing, creating, planning, reflecting, you need uninterrupted space. You need to give your mind a room with a closed door. So, if you're listening to this thinking, that sounds amazing but impossible, start small. Turn your phone on Do Not Disturb for 30 minutes. Go for a walk without earbuds. Sit in a room with a notebook and just think. It'll feel strange at first. Our brains aren't used to silence anymore. But lean into it. There's gold in that discomfort. And in time, you'll start to hear something powerful, your own voice. Clear, unfiltered, untamed. And that voice, it's the one that will lead you to the life you're really meant to live. Here's the thing, no one really told me when I started waking up early. If you don't change your nights, your mornings will never last. In the beginning, I thought all I had to do was set my alarm earlier and push through the tiredness. I figured if I could just get through the first few days, my body would adjust, right? Wrong. What actually happened was, I started running on fumes. I'd stay up late watching Netflix, scrolling TikTok, or telling myself I deserved a wind-down drink that usually ended with me binging snacks at midnight. Then I'd try to wake up at 5 a.m. like a hero, only to crash by mid-morning, cranky and useless. It wasn't sustainable. That's when I circled back to a part of the 5 a.m. club that I had sort of skipped over the first time. You don't just need a morning routine, you need an evening protocol to support it. It made sense. You can't expect your body to magically feel rested and energized when your brain is lit up by blue light and adrenaline until the moment your head hits the pillow. So, I made a new commitment, not just to waking up early, but to going to bed like it actually mattered. The first thing I did was set a digital sunset at 9:00 p.m. That meant my phone went on Do Not Disturb. I closed my laptop, and this was the hardest part. I stopped checking emails or social media. The first few nights felt weird. I had this reflex to grab my phone every few minutes like something important was happening online. Spoiler alert, it never was. Instead, I replaced that habit with a few things that felt calming and human. I made a cup of herbal tea, lit a candle. Sometimes I'd write a few lines in my journal. Other nights, I'd read a fiction book just to let my mind wander. And one big change? I moved my phone out of my bedroom. No more late-night scrolling. No more snooze button temptations. At first, I was skeptical. Would any of this really make a difference? But after just 1 week of consistent evening boundaries, I started waking up before my alarm. And not just groggy and half awake. I mean alert, ready, and peaceful. My morning routine stopped feeling like a punishment and started feeling like a gift. Even more surprising, my anxiety started to drop a lot. Before, I used to go to bed with my heart racing, my mind racing even faster. I'd fall asleep with stress in my chest and wake up already behind. But once I started protecting my evenings, that stress started to dissolve. My mind felt clearer. My body felt lighter. I actually looked forward to bedtime. And that carried into everything else. I had more energy during the day. I made better food choices. My workouts felt easier. I was less reactive at work and more patient in conversations. It was like a chain reaction of better choices, and it all started with the way I ended my day. One night, my friend Alex came over and saw my phone flipped face down, a book on my nightstand, and candlelight filling the room. He laughed and said, "Are you running a retreat center in here or what?" I laughed too, but inside I was proud. Because for the first time in my adult life, my evenings felt like a landing, not a crash. If you're listening to this and thinking, there's no way I can go to bed early, I've got too much going on, I hear you. Life is busy. Deadlines pile up. The day can feel like it's never truly over. But here's the truth. If your night is chaotic, your morning will be too. And if your mornings are chaotic, so is your life. Start small. Just pick one thing. Put your phone on airplane mode, 30 minutes before bed. Light a candle. Read something that has nothing to do with work. Lower the lights. Create a signal to your brain that it's time to let go. You don't need a perfect routine. You just need to care enough to protect your peace. And once you do, you'll find that peace waiting for you the next morning, right there at 5 a.m. You know what's wild? I spent years trying to change my habits, but never once thought to change what was around me. Before reading the 5 a.m. Club, I thought I had a discipline problem. I blamed myself when I couldn't stay consistent, when I broke routines, when I slipped into old patterns. I'd beat myself up saying things like, "You're lazy. You have no willpower." But the book introduced an idea I'd never considered. Your environment is always stronger than your willpower. And the moment I read that, everything made sense. Because when I looked around at my daily environment, it was obvious. My space, my habits, even the people I surrounded myself with, none of it supported the version of myself I was trying to become. I wanted to be focused and creative. But my desk was cluttered with takeout bags and unpaid bills. I wanted to be disciplined, but my phone was my alarm clock and my gateway to endless distractions. I wanted to be healthy, but my fridge looked like it belonged to a college student living off energy drinks and leftover pizza. And the people I hung around, most of them rolled their eyes when I mentioned waking up at 5 a.m. "You're crazy," they'd laugh. "Just sleep in like a normal person." And for a while, I did. But once I realized that my surroundings were shaping me, whether I was aware of it or not, I knew something had to change. So I started small. First, my physical space. I cleaned off my desk and created a morning corner. Just a chair, a candle, my journal, and a book. That little space became sacred. No clutter, no distractions, just peace. I moved my phone charger to the living room and bought a cheap sunrise alarm clock instead. That one change reduced my screen time and helped me fall asleep faster. I organized my kitchen, stocked it with easy, healthy breakfast ingredients, and stopped buying the junk I knew would tempt me when I was tired or emotional. Each change felt like I was removing friction, making it easier to do the right thing and harder to fall back into bad habits. Then came the harder part, my social environment. This one took courage. There were people I cared about who, without meaning to, kept pulling me back into my old self. Friends who partied late, colleagues who thrived on chaos and complained constantly, people who made fun of the fact that I was trying to improve. It hurt to step back, but I realized loving someone doesn't mean you have to live at their frequency. I started saying no to late-night invites. I stopped explaining myself. I let some relationships fade not out of resentment, but out of respect for the new direction I was heading in. And in that space, something beautiful happened. I made room for new people. Through a friend, I got invited to a small group of creatives who met every Saturday morning. No pressure, no flexing. Just honest conversations about growth, routines, life. That group became fuel. Every week, I'd walk away feeling challenged, inspired, supported. And I realized I didn't just change my environment. My environment changed me. Now, I'm not saying you need to burn your life down or ghost your friends. What I am saying is, take a look around. What's in your space that makes the wrong choice easy? What's missing that would make the right choice feel natural? Because here's the truth. Willpower fades. Motivation disappears. But your environment? It's always there, silently nudging you toward who you're becoming. Create a space that whispers to you every morning. You are focused. You are calm. You are growing. You are not who you used to be. And surround yourself with people who believe in that version of you, even on the days when you don't fully believe in it yet. It's not about perfection. It's about design. Design your surroundings to support your dreams. Design your mornings to reflect your values. Design your life on purpose and not by default. Because once your environment starts reflecting your highest self, it becomes a lot easier to show up as that person every single day. Sometimes change sneaks up on you. You don't always see it happening day by day, but then one morning you wake up, look around, and realize you're not the same person anymore. That's what happened to me. I didn't become someone else. I just became more of who I always wanted to be. Before all of this, before the 5 a.m. club, before the routines, the clarity, the solitude, I was overwhelmed, drained, constantly behind. I lived in reaction mode, surviving one task after another with no real sense of direction. My phone ruled my focus. My moods ruled my productivity. And deep down, I felt like life was just slipping through my fingers. I remember dreading Mondays. I remember lying in bed every Sunday night with this knot in my stomach, wondering how I was going to do it all again. I was burnt out, but too busy to even admit it. Fast forward to today, and I can tell you with complete honesty, my days don't feel like that anymore. They feel intentional. I wake up early on purpose. I don't snooze my way into the day anymore. I rise with clarity. Because I've learned that how you begin shapes everything that follows. That 1 hour in the morning that I used to waste, now it fuels me. It grounds me. It makes the rest of the day feel lighter, more manageable even when life gets busy or messy. And it's not just about time, it's about ownership. I feel like I own my time now. I don't just get through the day, I build it. One block at a time. One breath at a time. That has spilled into everything. At work, I'm more focused. My performance has improved not because I suddenly got smarter, but because I'm showing up prepared, steady, and present. In my relationships, I'm more engaged. I'm not half listening with my mind somewhere else. I can actually be there with people. And you'd be surprised how rare and powerful that is in today's world. Physically, I'm stronger. I lost weight not from some crash diet, but from consistently moving my body every morning, even just a little. I sleep better. My anxiety, while not gone, has softened into something more manageable. Emotionally, I feel lighter. There's still stress. Of course, this is real life. But now I have tools. I have habits. I have anchors. And most of all, I have trust in myself again. Before, I didn't believe I could follow through on much. I'd make plans and abandon them. I'd set goals and talk myself out of them before I even started. But now, I've built proof. Every morning that I rise early, every time I complete my 20-20-20 hour, every moment I honor my quiet time, I'm reinforcing something powerful. I keep my word to myself. And that changes everything. I don't say any of this to sound impressive. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just someone who got tired of living on autopilot and decided to take the wheel. I still have bad days. I still oversleep sometimes. I still eat junk food, miss workouts, procrastinate on emails. I'm human. But the difference now? I don't stay stuck. Because I've built a foundation that holds me even when I wobble. If someone had told me a year ago that waking up at 5 a.m. would transform not just my mornings, but my entire identity, I would have laughed. But here I am. Not perfect, not finished, but free. Free from the chaos that used to run my life. Free from the excuses that held me back. Free to actually live the way I want to live. And it all started with a book and one brave choice: to wake up a little earlier and make space for myself before the world started asking for pieces of me. Hey, if you're still with me, listening all the way to the end, thank you. Not just for your time, but for your presence. That means something. And I want to say something straight from the heart, especially if you're listening to this in a place I once knew so well. If you're feeling stuck right now, if you're tired, burnt out, overwhelmed, or quietly questioning where your life is headed, I get it. I've been there. The kind of tired sleep doesn't fix. The kind of heaviness that creeps into everything: the way you work, the way you talk to people you love, the way you talk to yourself when no one's around. I know how loud the world can feel, how hard it is to be still, how easy it is to feel behind. And if that's where you are today, I just want to tell you this. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You don't have to become some 5 a.m. warrior tomorrow morning. You don't need to be perfect, or productive, or polished. You just need to begin. Begin by choosing 1 hour that belongs to you, before the world wakes up, before the emails and the noise and the pressure and the to-do lists. That hour can be simple. It can be quiet. It can be yours. You can stretch. You can sit. You can breathe. You can write. You can cry. You can pray. You can read. You can just be. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is make space. Not to fix everything, but to remember who you are under everything. That's what the 5 a.m. Club gave me. Not just a routine, but a reminder that I didn't have to keep living the way I was, that I could reset, rebuild, reroute. And I believe that's possible for you too. So if you've been waiting for a sign, maybe this podcast is it. Maybe this is your gentle nudge, your invitation to stop waiting, to take your mornings back, to take yourself back. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not too late. You're just ready. Even if you don't fully believe it yet. And if no one's told you this in a while, I believe in you. Really. Not because I know your story, but because I know the feeling of wanting more. And I know that if you're still listening right now, something in you is already shifting. So as we close this episode, here's what I want to leave you with. Tomorrow morning, try waking up 15 minutes earlier. Just 15 minutes. Don't touch your phone. Don't check your email. Just sit in silence, or journal one thought, or go for a short walk. That's it. Let it be messy. Let it be quiet. Let it be yours. And if it feels good, do it again the next day. Not for perfection, not for productivity, but for presence. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to announce your journey. You just need to begin it. And if this message resonated with you today, if it spoke to something inside you, do me one small favor. Share this episode with someone who might need it. Maybe a friend, a coworker, a sibling, someone who's been feeling the same weight you've been carrying. Let them know they're not alone. And if you want to hear more stories like this about growth, mindset, and real transformation, subscribe, leave a quick review, or drop me a message. I'd love to hear what landed with you. Until next time, remember this. You don't have to change everything. You just have to choose one morning. And from there, everything else can begin to shift.